The pitch team had done a brilliant job. The presentation was compelling, concise, practical. They'd answer all the questions with conviction, with respect for their colleagues. And the chair was wrapping things up. There wasn't much more to say. They were ready for the board presentation and sign off. So far, so good. And then he looked around the room. Thought, hey, is there anything else? Have I missed anything? He was doing his job. And then he saw her. She was the one who'd just joined a few weeks ago from some startup. He couldn't quite remember which one. She'd asked a few questions throughout. Surely she had something to say. He looked down at her pad. She'd been doodling. Actually doodling the old brand of her old organisation. He forgave her that. He thought, hey, you know what, that's a bit different. Not quite getting the rules of how we operate here. And then he said to her, what would you do? If you're in your old job, what would you do? She looked up, and suddenly a different person came forward. She said, oh, we might discount. We might sort of launch some new products quicker if we could. We might launch an advertising campaign. And 3 or 4 or 5 different moves just came out within matters of seconds. The pitch team and those around her had a wry smile, thinking that wouldn't happen, would it? But the chair wasn't so sure. He encouraged her to say more. She talked about, without breaching confidentiality, how they think in the organisation and how aggressive and competitive they are and how they hate to lose. He could have left it there, but this chair was dogged, determined to make this success. So he said, all right, go away, 2 weeks, come up with all the different attacks and all the different counter moves that your old organisation or indeed any others you think would come up with in response to this launch. And then he did something even cleverer. He then invited in a couple of the pitch team to work with her. A couple who were a bit more open-minded than the others, who were a bit too proud, he thought, to counter such an exercise. So the 2 weeks happened. And they didn't just come back with criticism, slinging mud at the proposition. That wouldn't be helpful. What they did is they actually came up with some practical suggestions on how perhaps the business model could be slightly tweaked, how the implementation plan could be more resilient, and actually how they could approach their customers in a different way. Strategy is dynamic. You have to think through the counter moves, have a game theory approach. It also means sometimes you have to reframe the situation, even when you think you're done, and always, always invite participation and dissent in order to improve the quality and the credibility of the strategy.